Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. Welcome to today's reading. So yesterday we jumped in and we just kind of looked to see what wanted to come out, what kind of energy wanted to come out. And we got a lot of interesting, different messages that started to come out. One of them, and it kind of got articulated a little bit more in the extended, but it looks like your person is wanting to come your direction with some unhealed communication. So I wanted to jump in today and kind of take it from there and understand a little bit about the energy that is coming off of them, because some of them really feel like they're being able to articulate things a little bit better, and some of them feel a little bit more like a hot mess. So we're going to take a look, and I think we're going to do it. I meditated on this. We're going to do it as a single reading today. So I thought about separating that one out into no contact versus those who are in some form of contact, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it as one today, just one for the collective. So it's going to be a general reading for this collective, as always. If it resonates with you, that's great. Maybe take a look at some of the other messages that have come out in some of these messages, or in some of these different readings, because they're very much connected. Otherwise, I would just say, if you're starting to see yourself in this, take a look at some of the other messages, but also think about subscribing. So we're going to jump in and look at the energy that is in that kind of energetic backdrop. You know, yesterday had that calmness to it. It had kind of a calmness to it that I don't know that I woke up feeling today, or I don't know that I necessarily felt. So we have the Six of Cups. We want both of these. The Six of Cups and the Fool. Six of Cups says there's still a little bit of that nostalgia that we were feeling in the energy yesterday. And the Fool says that it's kind of, this is maybe what's different. This has got a feeling of doing something about it, moving into an uncharted sort of situation. Now, we've seen some of this Magician coming in the reverse, where maybe your person hasn't been feeling it, like they haven't felt like they have control enough over their situation to really be able to do what they want to do. But what I see with this is that there's a moment here where both of you kind of do feel like you have a little bit more of that control. This is it's a using your powers for good kind of feeling, but it's feeling like you actually can use your powers for good. But because of this, nostalgia plays into it. There's some element of this is something that is empowered and is possible because of something that you've learned, something that you've come to understand. But that Fool card, I can't get over how much that changes kind of the overall feeling of this reading, because it's got the sense of it's time to do something about it. Now you've got the 10 of Visions here. So in this deck, visions are water energy, so they're like cups. 10 of Cups, there's a sense of, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there. I'm moving into uncharted territory. And this is, so not knowing what you're going to do when you run into something has not always been great when it's come to these readings, okay? Because we've seen your person want to come your direction, and we've seen them get there and not understand what it is that they should be doing when they get there. So they turn around and run, or they act inappropriately, or whatever it is that doesn't give you that equal give and take of energy and emotion that you need. In this case, though, I think it actually opens things up a little bit, partially because of the energy that's also coming off of this 8 of Visions. So 8 of Visions, 8 of Water, 8 of Cups. It's in the reverse. It's a meandering sort of energy. This is not necessarily... this is going on a quest, but not being super pointed about it, or not being real focused about the way they go on a quest. I feel like it's your person's energy. So I feel like I need to refer to it as them, because I feel like yours is a little bit more focused. I dropped a card. I thought that was more than one card. It was just one card, and it fell face down. So what have we got here? I know something turned over. Maybe just one. Let's see. Yeah, Weaver of Visions. We got the Weaver of Visions and the Ace of Boons. The Ace of Boons feels a little bit like the Fool, with the feeling of a new beginning that's coming in here a little bit. And with the Weaver of Visions in the reverse, though, this is the piece that slows you down or creates a bit of a setback. I feel like this is something that happens for both of you, but it happens a little bit more heavily for your person. So you're moving into new territory. Something is new, something is unexpected. We know we have new opportunities kind of happening for both of you, okay? New opportunities that are emerging for both of you. Jumping into those is sometimes going to feel a little bit scary. There's a bit of a going for broke sort of energy that has been popping up here for your person here lately, but this does not give me the warm fuzzies about it. This is Weaver of Visions in the reverse. That's like the Queen of Cups in the reverse, and it feels a little bit like being triggered. It particularly has a little bit of an element of it's not just being triggered. It's got a little bit of it, like getting triggered in controversy sort of feeling. There's something here that feels like there's a controversy or something that is like a controversy that's reawakening. We have the Child of Spells in the reverse, which feels like, okay, this controversy or this thing that is awakening is something that has created some emotional strife for your person, maybe even a little depression. And that is what's that's what's reflecting most out of this energy for me. With the Three of Boons, though, I don't think there's actually anything to worry about. I feel like this is, there's a temporary hiccup in this energy that mostly comes from being nervous. But there's also the sense of kind of being held in an uncomfortable place by the universe. So with the Enchanter's Wheel in the reverse, this is change not being allowed to happen. It's not being allowed to happen because the person, or people, this is really both of you, and it's both of you within this bond. We have the Lover's card also. You are being, I guess, kept in place. I see this, and this one comes up as well. All right. So I'm just going to talk to all four of these because they're very much the same concept. There is a sense of being kept in place with the Fairy Wheel in the reverse, with the Enchanter's Wheel, or I'm sorry, the Fairy Wind in the reverse over here, and the Enchanter's Wheel in the reverse. Both of those are keeping you in place. So the Fairy Wind is kind of your own intrinsic ability to move forward, whereas the Enchanter's Wheel has to do with the universe moving you forward. There is something about keeping you in place to forge you into somebody new, forge you into a new way of being. This is traditionally the Temperance card in the traditional tarot. The forge is what it turns you into what you become. It's a hard-earned balance, and it takes a long time to get there. You get built up into it, but that's part of the reason that things are not kind of progressing forward quickly. It's also forcing both of you into a place where you have to pay attention to this bond. Now for you, that might not really be a new thing. For them, it kind of has some different implications because there's a lot of like a feeling of your person trying to run away from having to deal with this bond. Not so much that they don't see it or they don't feel it, just that they honestly, we saw it in the other readings, it's taken them by surprise a little bit, and they don't understand why they're not able to walk away from it. Why are they not able to drop this energy? And it's really hitting them that they're not able to drop this energy, and there's a lot of question as to why that is. That's very prominent in today's energy. You might even be noticing some of that for yourself as well. So let's look now into a little bit more of kind of, let's look into the change. Let's look into the change that's happening here, the emotional side, because I was kind of thinking about the energy that's come out over here. We've got energy of change. We've got especially this shift here that's kind of taken it away from a more balanced foundational energy into a place where they do something new, but it's got an awkward sort of feel to it. We know that, like I said, there's been some talk of them coming your direction in an unhealed communication. This tells us it's unhealed and it's uncomfortable. That's got so much discomfort and awkwardness to it. I want to know more about, for you, like, what does this communication look like? What do you need to know? In a minute, we'll look into where you need to focus, kind of what the healing looks like for you at this point. Because like I said, we know they're coming in unhealed. So Page of Wands in the reverse. You could potentially be dealing with someone who is coming in the throes of depression. 10 of Cups in the reverse, not knowing what to do when they get there in the throes of depression. There's very much the energy of not knowing what to do when you get there, which, like I said, you know, it's often got this kind of negative implication, but it's also, in this case, it's a little bit positive because it's a little more open-minded than usual, which is good because they still have an element of struggle. There's still a little bit of them that kind of can't get with the program, has a really hard time understanding what is supposed to happen next. What are they supposed to be doing? They're very resistant. There's a lot of resistance that kind of, I wouldn't say it's popped up for them. I would say it just kind of has never gone away. It hasn't really gone anywhere. Child of challenges. So not only are they feeling a little bit depressed, but they're feeling a little bit unmotivated in this energy. And so it's like they kind of find themselves moving toward a direction that they can't help but move. And it's an unusual, unhealed energy. This might feel a little different to you. And I know for a fact it does, based on how some of you have been communicating. I think that some of it's going to be a little bit of a setback, you know, and it harkens back to the conversation that we heard about at the beginning of January, where some important conversation was likely to happen, but it's also likely to have some miscommunication in it, misunderstandings, and anything you can do to resolve that at the time is great. I dropped more cards. Sorry about that. Anything you can do to resolve the understanding at the time is great, but there will be issues with resolving that misunderstanding because of kind of where your person is. Yeah, so there may be some... It's possible they could come in and feel like they need to get in an argument, or feel like they are not giving you a fair shake. It has that sense of them coming in assuming that things are not going to go well, or assuming that you're going to reject them. Like the way that they've dealt with their fear of rejection is just to assume that it's going to happen and steeling themselves for it, but really in a way that kind of directs traffic. With the Keeper of the Spells, this is that. This is directing traffic. This is the My Way or the Highway card. This is making it very much engineered and with a small chance of small variation, small opportunity for variation. Child of Boons, there's a lesson that they needed to learn with regard to you specifically that I get that they haven't learned with regard to you specifically. So it's a lesson they might have figured out and learned how to use elsewhere. So if they figured out how to be less awkward when they're nervous, for example, they don't have that figured out with you. Whatever this is, it's something that they've had an opportunity to confront, and for whatever reason, they haven't been able to do it. So with the Seeker of Boons, like, what is this person thinking? We've got the Seeker of Boons in the reverse here. They're going back and forth. I mean, we've gone into what they're feeling before, but I don't feel like we often go into what they're thinking. Let's kind of, when we get into the extended, if it doesn't come out more here, I get that I don't have control over the situation. I want control over the situation. In fact, I insist on having control over the situation, but I'm being totally inconsistent and not even putting both feet in. Not really one foot sometimes. It's got a really standoffish kind of vibe to it. And I'm not sure how that plays with the rest of this. It's inconsistent even in the desire to be successful. Like sometimes, and I feel like maybe that's the depression. That may just be depression that I'm looking at. Now that I think about it, I already know there's depression here. I already know there's a tendency toward shutting down not just emotion but action. And here with the Three of Spells, this is I wasn't ready for it anyway. I hadn't already fulfilled the prerequisites. This is them talking their way, or talking themselves out of something, of feeling responsible for something that didn't go well. Even before it goes poorly, like even before it goes down, they have themselves saying, well, you know what, this is going to fail, but it's okay because I really didn't do what I needed to do on the front end anyway. And the thing is, it's a misinterpretation. First off, they did do the what is needed to be done, or they have gotten a start on that. Secondly, there's no reason to make the assumption that you're going to reject them, even if it hasn't happened. But I feel like that's defense mechanism, not really them thinking through, here's what's going to happen, and this is somebody that's going to reject me. What I also see, though, is there's extreme opportunity for healing for this person in here, but extreme opportunity for happiness. They could, for a few of you, and I don't want to get a ton of people's hopes up, there could be people who are actually, you guys have had your person turning corners, getting better at things. There's a lot of them kind of doing things for reasons that are a little bit better thought out in the cases where they've thought it out. In a lot of these cases, it's kind of, they haven't really thought it out, and you see them kind of come through without having thought things through very much. But in some cases, you're going to see them come through, and that you're actually going to be able to balance the communication. You're actually going to be able to move toward a reconciliation. I don't believe that is going to be, I feel like that's a message for a few people, that there's going to be a movement toward reconciliation, because I feel like in general, it's hard to accomplish. Reconciliation is something that has to be done internally, but then it also has to be done together. It has a lot to do with what you guys were working on together, which is the pieces that triggered you. The pieces that became catastrophic in the first place had to do with pain that you had brought into the situation from previous situations. In some cases, it's childhood. In some cases, it comes in before childhood. So it shows up in the form of values and feelings that are passed down from those ancestral pain, the ancient pains. We've got the wise woman here also. So with the wise woman, messages are coming in, information is coming in, and it's really about whether or not this person can accommodate those messages and take them in, because it feels to me like they're not quite in a position to do it here. Yeah, you've got an echo over here. It's an honorable mention, but it's basically the same message as the huntsman over here. They're not absorbing the message. They're not bringing the messages in. So this is a person who has great opportunity for healing, great opportunity for possibly even patching things up with you going forward. And for a small portion of you, it's going to lead to that. But I feel like there will, of course, still be a few bumps along the road. There for some of you, this has been the last bump. But for some of you, for the vast majority, I would say this person is coming in fairly unhealed. In some cases, they're not going to get all the way to the point where they're able to communicate, but in a lot of cases, they will. They're not necessarily receiving the healing communications that they need. And so, again, I'm left thinking, well, what is this person thinking as they come in? Because there's a lot of them not necessarily thinking things through, but needing to be in control of it. Like they have a fantasy and immediately pick up the phone to play it out. You know, it's almost got that kind of feel to it. So it's not that they haven't thought through it. It's just that they haven't really thought through it logically, or they haven't really given it much time. And this is in an environment of overthinking. So keep in mind, it's kind of got a complicated sort of feel to it. So let's look over here at what's happening with you. Let's take a look at what's happening with where you need to focus, areas for you to focus, particularly as you get into what is sitting on this table. Like, what are your areas of focus for that? Okay, areas of focus for you. You've had some really good ones lately, but you've also had this really great foundational energy that keeps coming through. Yep, you got the Ace of Cups again. This one showed up for you yesterday. Coming from a place of love, but being able to process your emotions a little bit better. It's an opportunity when you're able to process your emotions really well. Yeah, I saw that Seven of Swords and didn't think it was us. When you're able to process your emotions really well, you're also being able to kind of be truthful about some things that can be a little bit more difficult. So watch for places where you have historically deceived yourself, or otherwise maybe I guess told yourself what you maybe wanted to hear. You also have the Four of Wands in the reverse. And what I like about that energy is it's like you don't need things to be cut and dried. You don't need things to be easy and simple for you in order to be successful. You have come to a place where you're much more capable, even than you were emotionally at the beginning of this situation. And so when things come out and they are not always perfect, you're going to be way better at handling that and at being there for yourself. You have new emotions coming because you've got partially some new relationships that are either developing or about to be developing. We know we've got some soulmates coming your way. Weaver of Boons in the reverse. Don't undersell yourself. Strong sense of you potentially wanting to undersell yourself. Keeper of Boons in the reverse. Oh my goodness, it's like you think you don't deserve it. There's a sense here that has you not giving and receiving love equally, okay? Not giving and receiving love equally, but it's like you're actually going to have to take yourself by the hand and make the realization. You know, it's a realization that kind of has to come here for you. This is real. Emotion that people want to bring for you is real. And so there's a feeling here that you don't deserve it somehow, that you don't necessarily get that you shouldn't get what's coming your direction, or that you should somehow not be eligible for it, not deserving of it. You're not being honest with yourself about this. This is an egoistic thing, but not an egotistical thing. Okay, so it feels like you are associating, or you're identifying yourself a certain way that may or may not really be how you even see yourself anymore. Like it's an old habit of thought. That's what it feels like. It's an old habit of thought. You have something very positive coming your way. So I don't know if this is a social situation or maybe something that it turns into something positive and social. And ooh, I dropped a card and a bunch of them turned over. Okay, so we've got, did really that many of them turn over? I didn't think that many turned over. Okay, let's see how far we go. So we got the Seven of Challenges, which is like that Seven of Swords energy up there. Even when things aren't necessarily going your way, we've got you being able to be reassuring to yourself. And there are definitely going to be situations where you're going to need that reassurance from yourself. However, here's the interesting thing. You're going to discover that you're being too hard on a situation and that you have taken something in error. However, okay, so that's kind of what I was feeling up there. There's something that you've taken away that it wasn't meant. And you're going to be there for yourself. And then you're going to discover somewhere in that process, hey, wait a minute, I never should have had to worry about this pain in the first place because nobody ever was thinking this about me, or I misunderstood. It's something that you thought somebody thought. It's kind of got that feeling to it, and you talk yourself into a place where you're like, no, I feel better about things now. I'm good. And then you figure out, wait a minute, that's not actually what this person meant. So like, I feel like you catch it before it becomes an issue. This could be relevant to that new soulmate. Keeper of Visions. This is going to be, this is you deciding whether you want to admit to that soulmate the realization that, that you like had misunderstood, or to this person. It's not necessarily to that soulmate. This could be somebody else, but I feel like it's the new soulmate. But it's like you have a realization that you've misunderstood something, and you get to decide if you're going to go back and say that, or if you're just going to move on like nothing happened. That's what that Keeper Visions feels like to me. Let's see. What have we got here? The Strength card in the reverse. I don't think you tell them, because fear wins out over strength in this situation, but I don't think it impacts the partnership. And I think you eventually it comes out later in some kind of conversation when it feels a lot less threatening. But that's the thing. It doesn't feel less threatening right away. which tells you a little bit about your edges of your healing. So once again, this is a situation that shows you, here's a place where my fears are still winning out. Here's a place where I'm feeling unhealed. Doesn't necessarily create a problem. It's not something that ever becomes a problem, but it's something that ultimately you're able to admit not only to yourself, but to this person who I feel like is another soulmate coming out. So you're able to say, this is kind of what's driving me right now and where I am with the healing. That's very looking into yourself and understanding, being there for yourself. There's some honesty in this. There's also a feeling of, with this being in a social situation, that this could all happen in a social setting. Might not take a long time for this to transpire. I do not feel like this is the same conversation that's happening with your person, where there's a lot of opportunity for misunderstanding there, but there's not a lot of opportunity for cleaning it up. There's a lot more opportunity for cleaning it up with this one. With this, I feel like the misunderstanding lingers for a little bit. So let's get a feel for what your person is thinking, and kind of, we understand that they're in a tough place, but I would not mind hearing a little bit more about kind of just the mood that they're in, the place that they're in when they come to bring this unhealed communication your direction. So I think that's what we'll do when we get into the extended. The link is down below if you'd like to join me there. Otherwise, I will see you again in tomorrow's reading.